Hello, good
Hey,
evening.
good evening. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
All right, so my name is Divyam. Welcome to your Clapingo session.
Yeah, thanks, Divyam. I'm Shaila. I don't know if you know about me. I have a YouTube channel.
Mhm.
Um, Maybe I'll just introduce myself. So
Yeah,
I am originally from Kerala, India. I don't know if you heard of Kerala. You might know Kerala, right?
yeah, obviously.
Yeah. So I live in England. It's been over 13 years I've been living here with my family. I have a 12-year-old son. I live with my husband and him. And I work in IT. I do a 9 to 5 job. I've done my master's in computer science. Yeah.
Wow, that's lovely. So you've completed all the missions basically. Complete
I did.
family, complete
I've
professional
been,
life.
yeah, I've been telling this, teen times. So it's kind of registered. The whole structure of my introduction is like, yeah, it is actually helpful when it comes to introduction for job interviews as well. I think because I haven't had any job interviews after I started my YouTube channel. I think it's going to help me.
So why don't you tell me just in a couple of lines, tell me what your YouTube channel is about.
Oh, it's just I know when I started the channel in December last year. I started this. How did I had this in my mind for a couple of years actually. Ever since the COVID lockdown started, I think I even started another channel then, and that was actually cooking channel. And again, it was English in English. Maybe my attachment with English drove that channel as well, the idea behind that channel. But because I'm not passionate about cooking, I stopped it. and then I, and then I wanted to again do something in English. So that's when I had this idea of speaking with people and giving people obviously because I live here, I have the opportunity to speak with native speakers, or I am kind of surrounded by English. But yeah, I thought it would help people if you. And then I didn't really know that these kind of conversational videos even existed those days when I had this in my mind. Then and that's when I created this channel. And then the very first video that I came across was Sunita's English Adventure. Yeah, so that's her channel. I came across her, and that's when I found out that, oh my God, this already exists there. I didn't know that.
That there is a
Uh,
market for these sort of videos, basically.
yeah, yeah, definitely. And then again, I started with some vocabulary and kind of, grammar sort of videos. And my very first other speaker was Sunita. She is lovely. So I had my first conversation with her. And then once you have a conversation with somebody, then, people come to you. And then, yeah, but I do all sorts of videos. Yeah.
Right. Lovely explanation. I'm happy to hear that it's been going well, that you're enjoying the process as well. That is more important.
Yes, I
Uh,
love it. I love speaking with people because living away from India means I don't really get. There are Indians here, the Indian community is here, but again, it's not like you can go to everyone anytime you want. How it is in India, you don't really see many people out here, so you really need appointment, and that's the culture here. And once we migrate to the country, then we also, naturally fall into that kind of culture that you take appointments. And so yeah, so this is very easy. I'm in a few groups, and then if I feel like speaking with someone, just drop a message there, and you get plenty of people to speak to.
that's lovely. So when you generally talk to people,
Yeah.
I wouldn't call them strangers because the source through which you get these people is in some way verified. So there is
Yeah.
a primary sense of security. I wouldn't say that it's completely secure, but it's completely fine, right?
Oh yeah.
So when you talk to these so-called strangers, is there any specific topics you guys discuss? You guys just talk about India, food, current
Oh, it's
events,
just
like
a
that?
casual, because because when they know that I live in another country, then what the everything about like when I came over to this country, how it was, if I had any problems, were there any communication issues, or were there any cultural shocks, and that kind of questions. So they, yeah, with all of those questions, like my first session would be done, and then some people come to me again. Um, yeah, so it's like a basic, but now I have seen that people do have conversations on specific topics, which is really nice as well. I think if you prepare for that particular topic, it is better, I think, to do those kind of conversations. I haven't done anything like that yet, but it is, yeah, if you can spare time on that, then it is good as well.
Nice. You seem very confident. I like your speed. I like the way that you're using good words to explain to convey your story, I would say, right? Um, do you have any topics prepared for today?
No, actually, Rishad asked me if I have any topic. I didn't really. I said that I can, because you're a Clapingo tutor. Maybe I can ask you like how you didn't tell me anything about you. I would like to know about
About
you. How?
me, born and raised in Mumbai, pretty standard. I'm a football fan. I'm not that big of a fan of cricket, I would say. And I worked in Clapingo for about 5 years.
Mhm.
I work here as a tutor now. And yeah, I've been in a couple of industries here and there, experimenting with startups. I don't know what else to mention,
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah, thanks for that.
mhm.
So, coming back to your tutoring experience, so you said you've had 5 years you've been doing this, right? So I mean, how many lessons do you take in a week? Like, or how do you get your candidates? Do you have any criteria, or do you accept everyone, or how do you, decide like who you want as your student? Or is it
So,
up to you, or is it up to the organization that they just assign somebody to you?
right. So the way the system works at Clappingo, how long have you been taking sessions here?
Oh no, I'm not a student. I'm not a learner at all.
I know, but I'm sure you must be connecting with people. So like
Oh
how
no, just
many?
just for collaboration. I had only two sessions with
Two.
one with
Okay.
Abhay and one with Ronak. Yeah.
Right. So it is pretty straightforward. When a learner gets on the platform, they
Hmm.
have a way to, book a slot, and we as tutors are asked to provide a certain number of hours per week, per month, whatever it is, but it's completely flexible for us. So let's say in my peak when I was taking sessions regularly, I used to provide 2 or 3 hours a day, 6 days a week, except Sundays. And yeah, I think that was the maximum number of sessions I've ever taken. Uh, I did that for about 3 or 4 years. So I think the maximum number of sessions I've taken in a day would be maybe six, maybe 10, nothing more than that, right? 20-minute session.
Okay.
And when I did that for 3 years, and then I took a sabbatical. I took a break from taking sessions, but I was still working with Clappingo
Hmm.
um, behind the scenes. So I don't really know the actual figure, but I think it should be around 3 to 4 thousand sessions. I think I must have taken. Yeah, and I
Right. And
took a
this is
break
your
for a year and a half, and
main.
now I'm back.
Are you doing this part-time, or is it your main?
So when I used to work for Clappingo, there was two aspects to it. One was the full-time job behind the scenes, and one was part-time to take sessions with
Ah, okay.
learners, like front-facing to the client. So
Yeah,
it
that
used to
makes sense.
be double. So basically, I used to work till 6 in the evening, and then from six
Right.
to nine, I would take sessions, and then I would call it a day. Like that
Ah,
would be the end of my day.
okay. Yeah, okay. That
Yeah. So
that
now
makes sense.
I'm just doing the speaker part. I'm not associated with Clappingo anymore. I left in September.
Oh, really? Okay, with you.
Yeah.
And so, how is your syllabus like? For like, what can you call it? Syllabus? I don't know. But how do you decide, like, what suits this particular learner? How do you do assessment, and then do you
Well,
then?
it is personalized, yes. To an extent, it is personalized. We don't have a, you know, traditional syllabus.
Mhm.
We as trainers, sorry, we as speakers are trained about certain aspects of conversational English. what problems learners could face. So we did analysis on, so we took sessions for a year, and then we
Yeah.
realized that there are very obvious patterns that we need to identify. And then we did a lot of research. I think there was a time where the training team used to watch 20 sessions a day, like, and I mean like playback. So these are recorded. So for training purposes, we would watch these videos and
Yeah.
identify every issue the client made, and then it would go in an Excel sheet, and then we would see the repetition of the error, how
Mm.
common it was, what the severity of the error was, and then we sort of developed this training method where before the speaker even got onto the platform to take their first session, they knew what to expect. They knew what uh, is sort of a red flag when you're starting off a session, you know? So
Yeah.
again, like I said, there's no syllabus, but they are trained to identify issues, analyze them, obviously give them solutions. We make sure that when we give the solutions, they are actionable, they're easy to understand, and they are, publicly available, mostly free, right?
Right.
So when it comes to like I said, syllabus would be something that you're starting from scratch. You're teaching them grammar or something. What we
Hmm.
believe is when people have conversations, they
Yeah.
can learn through trial and error. Just because, okay, what's your mother tongue?
Malayalam.
Malayalam. So if I told you to sit with someone and teach them Malayalam, it would feel very uncomfortable for you. It would
Hmm.
feel very unnatural because it's your mother tongue and you learned it from when you were born. You learned it through trial and error. Your parents
Yeah.
didn't sit with you and teach you grammar and say, no, don't, do these
Yeah.
mistakes. People would just verbally correct you, or they would let you know that, hey, this is not how you say it, and you sort of got used to it. Now,
Hmm.
as adults, we're trying to do the same thing. We're trying to keep it natural, and through trial and
Hmm.
error, people can learn the language. Obviously, we're trying to reduce the time period in which the timeline of the learning, basically, right? And that
Yeah.
happens because now we have access to literally the whole world in our palms through the internet. So we have a lot of exercises, sources, we have a lot of content, we have a lot of brilliant creators who are dedicating a lot of their time to accelerate the growth of learners across the world. So I think
Hmm.
all of that helps. So when it comes to Clapingo, we don't have a syllabus, but we do personalize your corrections. We give you personalized and actionable exercises, or things to do, or tasks to improve your basically learning skill. Sorry, communication skills.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. So when you um, say you got a candidate and then you are assessing him or her, and then you tell them that, okay, you would need these many number of lessons to get to where you want to get to. Is that, do that? And then is it that up? Obviously, it is up to them because financial situation and everything matters, right? But do you tell them that, okay, this is going to be your duration, ideally with us, if you want to get to where you want to get to? Do you
We
do that?
we discourage speakers from doing that because,
Okay.
firstly, okay, let's say you and I have had this conversation for 20 minutes. Okay.
Mhm.
So one thing I can tell you is if I feel like we didn't have enough time to get into the issues, then I will recommend you to take a plan that lets you take a session for 30 minutes and not 20 minutes. Okay.
Okay.
Now, when it comes to the duration of the plan,
Yeah.
right? We tell people, we don't tell them how many months they should do it, because
Mhm.
in one session it's easy for me to understand where the issues are originating from, what can be done to fix it, you know.
Yeah.
But it becomes very difficult to gauge what your learning curve is going to be like.
Yeah.
So I can tell you that, hey, take a 20-minute session three times
Yeah.
a week for 3 months. But that is just a recommendation purely because for you, I would recommend 1 or 2 sessions a week for like 2 or 3 months. But that is just to make sure that your fluency is maintained. Like this is just basically brushing up. It's not learning from scratch, right? So it becomes very difficult for me to gauge in one session how long it might take for you to achieve a certain goal. And that
Yeah.
goal is not be completely fluent because that takes years. So we cannot say that.
True.
right?
It's up
So
to
in the
the
first
candidate,
session,
basically.
exactly, we ask them, what is the biggest issue you're facing now that's stopping you from being confident or, applying for that new job or starting that new business, you know? And then we put a certain timeline on it that, okay, generally it takes 6 months. Let's start working on this and then we'll know if 6 months is good enough. And now, if I'm taking a session with you 3 times a week, right? Let's say with you,
Yeah. Hmm.
in the second session that I talk to you, I notice how much work you've done behind the scenes before
Yeah.
the session started, the second session. So now that I know you're willing to put in time to improve outside of the session, then I know your timeline will be shortened. But a
Yeah.
lot of people, what they do is they have this misconception that, okay, I'm paying you, so now I'm only going to learn in the session. But that's not how it works, right? You can
Yeah.
do that, but then it might take a year or two, you know? So
Hmm.
there's no benefit. This is exactly why even when you go to school, they give you homework. They tell you that learning should never stop at home, right? Because
Yeah.
you should keep experimenting, you should keep asking questions, talk to your parents, engage with your books or sources on the internet to understand and learn new things and generate new curiosities. Right?
Yeah.
So similarly over here, we try to employ all of those tips. And obviously, we have had so many successful stories of people saying that, hey, I worked on it myself for 3 years and I just felt so stuck, like I was plateaued in terms of what, they couldn't self-analyze what was going wrong. But when they
Yeah.
came here, suddenly in 2 or 3 sessions, they figured out like, oh my God, I didn't know I was doing these 4 things wrong. You know,
Mm.
so making silly mistakes like using the incorrect form of tense or
Yeah.
taking long pauses, using inaccurate words. So like one common word a lot of people use in India, instead of saying improvement, they'll say impromptu.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is something that I've noticed personally.
Uh-huh.
So these sort of errors, even though they don't seem very big, but in the long term, you're projecting something to your boss or to your manager. And they
Yeah.
know that you're going to do these things in front of the client, so they may not give you the roles or the projects that are client facing. And you don't want
Yeah.
that. You don't want to damage your own chances of that progression, you know?
Yeah.
So when you fix errors in a small time period of like 2 or 3 months, it becomes very easy for you to take that next step, whether it's professionally,
Mhm.
personally. A lot of people come here because they're about to get married and they want to present themselves in the best manner. They have a
Yeah.
booming business, they have a very supportive and loving family, but their communication seems like a red flag, and then suddenly, not a lot of people are interested in continuing the conversation with them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but it's unfair actually to judge people just based on a, language. It's just a language. But yeah, because it's a global language, that's why we are all obsessed with English. Otherwise, if Spanish should be, a global language, then we would be speaking Spanish. Or if
Definitely.
for Hindi for that matter, if because of the population, you would be if or Chinese.
Yeah,
Chinese, I think the language is Mandarin, I think, yeah.
yeah,
But yeah, it's just a language anyway. But I wanted to ask you, yeah, again, you pointed out the improvement, the word, but another mistake that even I have made that mistake when I started my career. Even on official emails, we would say, please do the needful. That is not correct at all. Do the needful. There's no such thing as do the needful. It is very incorrect. And also we say parallelly, which is wrong. In parallel is what you have to say. So there are a lot of mistakes that we are kind of comfortable with, making that over and again.
yeah.
But yeah, but the problem is that once you've learned a mistake, then it's really hard to unlearn it because it's in your blood, and you've
Yeah.
learned it from your teachers, and then it is kind of registered there. So it's really hard to get rid
Definitely.
of that. Yeah, it is.
These
Even
sentences
now.
that you, sorry, these sentences that you mentioned, like do the needful, like these things sometimes originate from a language and they are literally word to word just translated, and people think that it's an appropriate sentence to use professionally speaking,
Yeah,
which we don't understand because we learn the sentence and we're like, oh yeah, I've heard like 10 people use it. But that doesn't mean it's correct, because if you were to send that mail to someone in the US or in Europe,
yeah,
they would be a little bit confused, like, what's going on, you
Yeah,
know?
that's the problem. It's all about, comprehension, like how if the other person cannot understand, that's when it becomes a problem. Again, accent or pronunciation, basically, for that matter. We accent doesn't really matter at all because every country has their own accent, and so long as you're pronouncing the word correctly, it should be okay. I mean, no matter whether you're trying to copy American or British or whatever, but you don't really have to. And nowadays, Indian English is actually kind of, recognized.
Mhm.
And I heard this actually from someone, a British speaker, I think, that they use Indian English. Indian English is actually kind of recognized. So that means our accent is okay, but if you pronounce the word incorrectly, that is when it is a problem. But I still tend to make the mistake when I pronounce a couple of words like um, alternative. I tend to say alternative because that is how I learned it, and then I take a pause, and then I can't. I have to make that conscious effort to say alternative or conservative,
Yeah.
where in India we say conservative, right? Conservative, which is wrong. So, which is really hard. It's kind of registered in my memory that, okay, this is what I have to say, but I still make that mistake.
Yeah, it's very difficult to break those habits.
Yeah. And also another thing, Divyam, I wanted to ask about, I don't know how long do we have
We have
time
a
left?
minute. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's very quick actually. You said that because we learned our native language from our parents or from our relatives, family members. But they correct us when we speak. But when as a tutor, when you with your students, do you correct? What is your approach like? Do you correct them while you speak, while they make that mistake, or do you take the notes and then correct them afterwards? Because I'm asking this, it actually depends on the person, really, how they take it. Um, if somebody corrects me, for example, my son, he obviously was born here and he speaks proper British English, and then I would love him to correct me if I make a mistake because that's when I learn it. But some people won't find it comfortable. They would be intimidated by, won't be comfortable. How do you handle it? What is your approach like?
I keep it simple. Whenever I start a session with a new client, with a new learner, sorry, I just straight up ask them, how would you like to be corrected? Because there are some factors that go into how we correct, how often we correct, how aggressively we correct. If someone comes up to me and says, okay, today is the 10th of May, right? Let's say someone comes up to me and says that on the 29th or the 30th of May, I have an interview with IBM or Google, whatever it is, right? In that case, I have to be aggressive with it because I need to identify the problems, let them know that they're there, and then give them time to self-correct, right?
Mm-hmm.
So basically, what I like to do is I like to put a filter in their brain through exercises, obviously, that every time you say this incorrectly, there should be a red light flicking in your brain saying something's wrong, fix this,
Yeah,
And then until the interview, you have to make sure every time that light goes on, you pause, you correct, and then you basically say the correct thing, right? Now,
yeah,
otherwise, when it comes to someone who is just trying to improve and there's no certain, aggressive deadline, then I try to be very subtle with it. I like to have a positive attitude and gamify the process in the sense
mm-hmm.
that I may not correct them directly. I'll repeat the sentence very casually, but say the correct form when I'm repeating it. And
Yeah,
then that light flicks in their brain, like, oh yeah, 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 I was supposed to say that. But I
mm-hmm.
don't actively tell them that they made a mistake. I just let them realize that they made a mistake, right? So
Yeah,
that
yeah,
is a very good way because generally at the end of my sessions, I tell them, please look at the recording, see what you were saying, how you were saying it, and you will know because you know how you speak. You will know if you did something unnatural. Maybe you got
yeah.
incredibly excited about a topic and started increasing the speed of your sentences because you were so excited
Mm-hmm.
to share it. Or maybe you didn't know anything and your energy dropped a little bit and your speed went down or your confidence went down. Like so there are a lot of things that through the recorded sessions they can look at themselves and say, this doesn't feel like something I generally do, so why did I do that? And then they can go back
Yeah,
and check it. I've had clients who come up to me and said that, you know, I looked at our third session together and I realized that whenever I come for the session, I finish my kitchen work and then I directly sit for the session. So now what I've done is I've implemented a 10-minute break in the middle where I just sit on the
Right.
couch, I read a book, I do some breathing exercises, and then I come here. And I noticed a significant difference in her performance because she was
Yeah.
so much calmer. She was maintaining eye
Mm-hmm.
contact. Her body language felt confident because she was not like mentally somewhere else. She was here. She was
Mm-hmm.
here to learn at that time. So I think
Yeah.
there is no one size fits all sort of method for correction.
Yeah.
I have a lot of my learners have thankfully uploaded all of these videos. So if anybody is interested in it, then they can go and check out how we tackle these issues. But I mean, there's no blueprint to it, honestly.
Yeah. True. Yeah. We're all different, aren't we?
Yeah. All right,
Right.
Shaila, I think we'll have to
Uh-huh.
end the session because I have another one in about 30 seconds. Uh,
Okay. Yep.
it
Thanks,
was
Divyam.
lovely
It was
talking to
really.
you. Thank you so much for your time. Hopefully, I'll see you soon.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Divyam. I appreciate your time as well. It was really interesting, and knowing how you're doing your, the sessions. It's really. Yeah. I didn't ask the Ronak and Obed about how they're. So I thought, yeah, let me ask you how you do in Camp Clapingo.
Thank
Uh,
you. As long as your curiosities are satisfied, then I'm completely fine.
yeah,
All right.
sure. Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
I have a lovely
Bye
rest of
bye.
the day. Bye.